Paris law enforcement is trying to help people understand how and when officers may use deadly force. 9 News side's Craig Smith was in a group of reporters who went through high-stress simulations that mirror what an officer might see in the line of duty. It was part of a nationwide program by the ATF, the agency also showing what is and is not considered legally acceptable deadly force. They say an officer can use deadly force if or she reasonably believes it's required to keep a suspect from seriously hurting or killing someone.
So if a suspect is acting not necessarily even aggressively, but just being non-compliant, and then in a very aggressive manner, just as an example, pulls his hand out of his pocket very quickly in a motion that would be similar to a suspect drawing a weapon, the officer has to respond to protect himself or protect the lives of other civilians.
And agents say courts have ruled deadly force is authorized if an officer reasonably believes it's required to save someone's life. And if that danger exists, there's no legal obligation to use less lethal options like a taser. But officers are trained to use other options if they can do it effectively. The Tucson Police are also working to educate the public on how TPD uses deadly force and alternatives. 9 on your side's Craig Smith watched as Tucson Police gave civilians some insight into the variety of less lethal and non-lethal weapons police have available.
On a training academy firing range, Tucson Police Sergeant Jesse Cornea demonstrates some of the weapons police may use to subdue a suspect with something less deadly than a bullet. This shotgun's bright green color indicates it launches a flex baton or beanbag round. TPD rules say it must never be fired towards the head or groin. The same rule applies for this weapon, which launches a large foam projectile. Tucson Police say it is different from a rubber bullet and they do not use those. Members of TPD's Citizen Force Review Board and other citizens were learning more about these and other methods. They learned a taser is not effective 100% of the time, that electrodes can miss or not connect in a way that will reliably bring down a suspect. Cedric Smith says with nationwide concern about police brutality and use of force, he wanted to learn more about the police perspective.
As far as the training, I think it'll be effective. I feel confident in that. Obviously, you have a lot of other factors, whether it be stress factors, psychological factors, which I'm sure the department is addressing, and they'll take all those into account as well.
Frank Wilson says he's been on the TPD Force Review Board for 5 years and appreciates how open the department has been.
To the point of we review all the tapes, we sit down and for 4, 5, 6 hours look at cases where there's been police shootings, and we're part of the process, so it's pretty unique.
The death of Carlos Ingram Lopez in Tucson police custody prompted a major review of TPD's restraint methods, what police call ground techniques.
What we learned is if you're trained in ground techniques, you tend to use less force. So we are trying to make officers better equipped. We train that during the academy, but once you've been on 10, 12 years, unless you practice it regularly, you're going to resort to what you know.
Rather than pull police out of the field to refresh their restraint training, trainers are going to the divisions to make sure officers know the best way to restrain someone safely. Craig Smith, KGUN 9 on your side.
Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos also releasing a policing and criminal justice reform plan today. The sheriff's plan includes body cameras for uniformed deputies, a citizen review board led by a member of Tucson's black community, and a regional team that allows Southern Arizona agencies to investigate each other's use of force incidents. He says these moves are meant to protect the public and his deputies. His goal, return policing from warrior to guardian. He explains what he means.
I have to help somebody at every turn. In law enforcement, so much of it is not enforcing the law. In fact, very little of it is enforcing the law. It's taking care of a community. It's taking care of our neighbors and making sure people are safe. That's law enforcement. That's a guardian.
Coming up tonight at 10, what Sheriff Nanos says about his push to lower the jail population and the bail system in the county.